There has been a plague that has been afflicted upon the YouTube commentary landscape for the past few years now that has become so increasingly obvious and unavoidable that I feel the need to make an entire video dedicated to it, addressing the issue and theorizing about how it began. When you ask any YouTube OG who has been around long enough to remember the legends of old and have seen the best the site has to offer, there seems to be a common consensus amongst these people when concerning the quality and entertainment value of said content compared to the current year. These people seem to be in unanimous agreement, myself included, that the content in YouTube's past, however many years ago, had more entertainment value and was more engaging than the content now, specifically pertaining to the commentary genre. It is in my humble opinion that the general degradation of YouTube content can be attributed to this certain disease that started arising at a certain point in time and has since been propagated by a certain group of people. I would say this isn't necessarily exclusive to the commentary genre specifically, but I would say, as someone who is primarily engaged in commentary content for most of their time on YouTube, it is most noticeable in that genre. But for the most part, this generally affects the entirety of the YouTube landscape. When you look at contemporary YouTube commentary channels and their content, you'll begin to see a reoccurring trend amongst all their videos. Usually this clique of people will all cover the same topic or drama that happens to be trendy that day, which is perfectly fine. But instead of providing some unique personal input or giving any thought-provoking opinions or ideas, they just regurgitate the information in the form of one long glorified summary, like I'm listening to a Wikipedia article. And at the end of the day, that's what these videos really are at their fundamental level. A summary. Just a summarization of a series of events about a popular topic, which is why I coined the phrase summary syndrome to really encapsulate exactly what's wrong with these videos and the YouTubers that make them and why they're all so boring. The entire point of commentary is to look at objective information through the lens of the creator so the audience can gain a new perspective. This is the definition of commentary. With these YouTubers, you don't leave their videos feeling like your thoughts are provoked in any meaningful way, or that you gained anything of substance to take away, because it's not commentary. These people aren't part of the commentary community, they're part of the summary community. That's what we have to start calling these people in order to differentiate them from the genre and purify it and make it great again. The only thing that separates these YouTubers' videos from the likes of a Scarce video is the milquetoast opinions that are lightly sprinkled throughout, addressing something obviously unethical concerning whoever or whatever they're talking about using the moral compass of a toddler. For example, if there's a guy that's outed as a or the one and only opinion they will give is, guys,
great,
and are really bad, and this guy is a bad guy. On the other hand, when you look at classic content from the commentary genre during the golden age, you see a stark contrast. You see people that were so unafraid to express their thoughts and opinions, regardless of how much they push the needle, and always left you with a different perspective and different ideas to evaluate for your own. There was no era on YouTube or the internet in general that saw content more engaging and more entertaining than 2016. If you want a prime example of people that were unrestricted by ideological norms and financial cuckoldry, just look at some of the content from that era. You had YouTube legends like Filthy Frank and idubbbz and Leafy, and even H3H3 at this point was actually producing good content. The main difference between the current era and the classic era is that creators back then actually challenged other ideas and other people. But now the ability to have discourse about anything controversial or against the status quo is suppressed outright through rampant deplatforming and demonetization. In my opinion, this is a central caveat that explains why modern creators have fallen into a trend of never expressing any opinions that even go slightly past the Overton window, because there's no incentive to express any opinions at all. It's not just that these creators are fearful of being too divisive with their audience and losing their potential viewership, but it's also that they'll be punished financially and algorithmically through demonetization. Ever since the infamous adpocalypse in 2016, it forced all content into a filter of being bland and inoffensive. YouTube would actively punish people for making videos that featured thought-provoking ideas and daring opinions by removing all ads from said videos. This all started because some no-life from the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about how he found a Coca-Cola ad next to a Johnny Rebel song. He somehow found a way to put all of the blame on YouTube for this, despite the fact that it's the record labels that have to manually claim and run ads on all of these music videos. The idea that him finding a name brand household ad playing on some problematic racist video somehow meant that YouTube was complicit in controversial content is completely wrong. YouTube had absolutely nothing to do with this. This didn't stop all the aforementioned Fortune 500 companies from going on a boycott and pulling their ads from YouTube, effectively coercing YouTube into either fixing the issue and making sure an ad never plays next to anything even remotely controversial ever again, or risk going bankrupt as a company and ceasing to exist entirely. After that, if you weren't a creator that was only producing squeaky clean, spotless, brand-friendly content, then you had no hopes of ever being monetized, which for most YouTubers is the primary motivation for making videos in the first place. Not only would demonetization prevent you from profiting off of your own work that you produce for YouTube, but it would also suppress you in the algorithm and essentially shadow ban your video. Not only would you get almost zero earnings from the accursed yellow dollar sign, but you would also get less views, less impressions, and overall just less exposure. YouTube has to this day denied this ever being the case and pretends like this doesn't exist. But more and more people started to catch on and be more vocal about this discovery. Extensive research has already been done to prove this, and many people have made plenty of videos explaining this, so if you're interested, you could look into this yourself. The looming threat of demonetization has forced everyone into a bottleneck of being harmless, mediocre, and just less inspiring and less entertaining. Everyone who had intentions of making a living off of YouTube now had to completely neuter their content to adhere to the website's unrealistic and downright arbitrary guidelines. You couldn't use any profanity, or show anything that was visibly explicit, or do anything that wasn't suitable for an audience of skibbity toilet iPad children. But most importantly though, you couldn't express any ideas or opinions that could even be perceived as controversial. Around this time, the same people that were in support of YouTube's decision to make the website inhabitable for content like this began coining the phrase hate speech, almost implying that hate wasn't protected under free speech laws, and that speech could somehow be dangerous, and that taking actions to silence and censor it were somehow justified. This term had now become a staple in the community guidelines, and anyone who was politically affiliated with the wrong side, or made jokes that were too funny, or had the wrong beliefs, were now in violation of TOS by committing hate speech. It was a blanket term that YouTube and these idea police tyrants would use to snuff out any content that they didn't like or agree with. For a lot of people, the only danger of making content wasn't just having your earnings stripped away, but it was being terminated entirely. These series of events would solidify the content Kali Yuga as our new timeline, and spell a downward spiral for the quality of life on the website, and it meant the degradation of the entertainment value of the videos on the website as a whole. This targeted attack on certain schools of thought, and the general restriction of people's creative freedom, was mainly reflected by the commentary community in my experience. It is the place that I noticed where the new guidelines had the most detrimental effect, and it's where I coined the phrase summary syndrome in the first place. The commentary community didn't turn into the summary community by coincidence. They didn't start collectively becoming dull and uninspired out of nowhere. They became that way purely for convenience sake. Why risk your income and exposure by covering a topic with unique and thought-provoking opinions when you could just play it safe by being a monotonous news reporter for 20 minutes and refusing to be anything other than an unbiased fence rider when you do decide to give your thoughts on anything? Another thing that contributed to the popularization of summary syndrome content was YouTube prioritizing quantity over quality upload schedule. When you have to fulfill a quota of uploading every so often, like a lot of these other commentary channels do, It becomes increasingly harder and harder to produce videos that are intellectually stimulating and have any creative personal input. You see, the hardest part about making commentary isn't editing together some audio and recordings and slapping it onto YouTube. It's actually creating original ideas and having original opinions that are intrinsic to you and that came from your own mind. You could spend however long compiling research about whatever topic you're covering and regurgitate it into summary form in a video, and it would still take less effort and require less mental exertion than coming up with a few interesting thoughts about something. Reporting on the news of the day doesn't require any creative skills or intuition. Literally anyone can make it. Any average drooling helmet-wearing mongoloid can make that content. I think creators definitely do need to be held accountable for producing mediocre content. I do think a lot of these people deliberately avoid giving personal input, either because they're too scared of unnecessarily dividing their audience, or they just don't want to be demonetized. Both of which are fine, it makes sense. But I also believe it's just because a lot of these people are that intellectually and creatively bankrupt and don't have the mental capacity to come up with anything interesting. And people like that have and always will exist and aren't necessarily a product of some change in the socio-political climate of YouTube. You can essentially separate content into two different categories. You have background noise, which you just play on another monitor in the background, and you have actual foreground video that you pay attention to. I have many friends and people I know attest to the fact that most of the commentary YouTubers they watch will just be played in the background, never to be paid any serious mind, or to be thought upon in any significant way.
Nobody's ever gonna read a page that you wrote and say to themselves, damn, I'm glad I read that. They're just gonna, it's just popcorn. You write the mental equivalent of popcorn.
I'm sure you can certify this and point out these different types of YouTubers you will only ever have played in the background and never be actively paying attention to. Then there are videos that are actually engaging and entertaining enough for you to divert your zoomer attention span to and digest the content and leave the video taking away something of value. Keep an eye out for which YouTubers are just background noise and which YouTubers you actually physically watch and whose videos actually entice you when you see them in your recommended. This mediocrity can also be found in the video essay format. A lot of these YouTubers will just pick a topic that's even somewhat interesting and unique enough to not be oversaturated and just compile a bunch of research about it and summarize it without giving a unique perspective or outlook or having a message or having anything of substance to take away from the video. I would say an example of someone that does amazing video essays is Lemon. And truthfully, he's the only video essayist I actually watch. No matter what topic he chooses to talk about, he always manages to make it interesting and put a creative spin on it. And he always has a message that you take away from the video, so you leave feeling like you actually gained something. Then on the other hand, you have someone like Turkey Tom, whereas the entirety of his video essays are just him listing research he compiled about someone in chronological order, and occasionally using fruity language he found from a thesaurus in an attempt to not make it sound like a dry lecture. Not to diss Turkey Tom in particular, but I really do feel like he's representative of this ongoing issue with the video essays, which are also technically considered commentary. In fact, if you look at his second channel, which features more conventional commentary, you realize that he suffers from the same summary syndrome disease that a lot of these other commentary channels do. He will literally just summarize and describe whatever is happening on screen just to fill in airtime because he can't be bothered to say anything interesting or original.
Release of a video simply titled Skibbity Toilet. The video opens with the camera panning into a bathroom with a miniature version of G-Man dancing on the floor. It quickly pans into the toilet where a man pokes his head out and sings the Skibbity song.
I saw some comments that really captivated me when I read them, and were actually a driving factor that motivated me into making this video in the first place. These comments were telling me to leave my opinions out of my videos as if it would somehow improve the entertainment value or quality. As if the commentary community isn't already plagued with people that are afraid to express their own opinions purely because they don't want to be divisive. I don't know how you can ignore the fact that the vast majority of commentary channels already leave their opinions out of their videos to remain unbiased. If you want a news story summary, scarce video, go to the literal 99% of the other commentary channels that talk about the same thing I do and will never offend you. It's baffling to me that you have an entire ocean of empty, unbiased commentary channels you can choose to watch from, and still somehow have an issue with a tiny commentary channel you found that happens to inject a few personal opinions into his content. The reason I watch commentary is to hear people's opinions about a subject. I already know what stupid drama they're gonna talk about. So if I don't get to hear their perspective, what's even the point of watching? Opinions are an integral part of commentary. They are fundamental to the genre by definition. If you are watching a commentary video of someone covering a subject without giving an opinion about it or having a personal standpoint about it, you aren't watching a commentary video, you are watching a summary. Anyways, I'm monetized now, so hit that join button, join my Discord, like and subscribe, Patreon even. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.